Hello, everyone. Welcome to Million Marker Live. Happy Monday. My name is Jenna. I'm the founder and CEO of Million Marker. So welcome. So thank you for joining us. And a couple of weeks back, we actually had functional nutritionist Amber Fischer come and talk to us about adrenal gland, how it works and how it impacts our health. And if you like to get a base understanding of how adrenal gland works, their impact, check out our IG live and our live feed. So that discussion only just scratched the surface about adrenal gland and health. So that's why today we're like super excited to have hormone dietitian Chelsea Potter joining us to dive in a little bit deeper. So now let me... Oh, hello. Hi, Chelsea.
Hi,
Enjoying it. This is awesome.
we figured it out.
Yes, yes. I was like really worried about the awkward silence, which happened to me many, many times. So I'm so glad we figured out.
No worries. I'm not the most tech savvy, so
Oh my God, the same, the same. So so glad you're here. I gave like a quick intro. So let's just dive in. I mentioned a little bit because a few weeks back we had a functional nutritionist Amber Fischer joining us, talking about a little bit about adrenal and adrenal health and adrenal fatigue, but not in too much of a depth. So just super glad to have you here. So at Million Marker, we do testing in hope of, we do hormone testing, endocrine disrupting chemical testing in hope of helping people to achieve hormone balance. So, I'm also a registered dietitian myself. So anytime I see RDs, I'm all like super, super excited. So tell our viewers a little bit about yourself, what led you to become like a hormone dietitian.
yeah. Well, my name's Chelsea. I have worked in all kinds of settings as a dietitian. I think I've been a dietitian for 6 years. I've worked in hospitals, dialysis, and I was just I felt like I wasn't helping people in the way that I wanted to. I know I was helping people. I don't want to make it sound like those jobs aren't important, but I wanted to get into the nitty gritty with people. I wanted to have more time with people. And so that's what led me to go into private practice. And it's been so great. I love having that connection with people. And in terms of like hormone health specifically, I think a lot of times we get into what we've struggled with personally,
Yes, yes.
because we know what that experience is like. I've been on my healing journey for years at this point, which is the other thing that led me to private practice because I could better, give myself time for that healing process. So yeah, so it's a little bit about what I do, and yeah, it's good to chat with another dietitian. I feel like we understand each other.
Totally on the same page. When I was working in the hospital, I felt the same thing. We don't spend enough time with the patients. So
Right.
this personal connection and also this personalized approach is the super, super important. Um,
100%.
so totally. Now we're going to talk about adrenal health now, just, before we get super deep in it, could you like just get people up to speed? What is the adrenal gland? What does it do? How do they influence our body?
Yeah, so just generally, I mean, to give you a picture, because I'm a visual learner, the adrenals sit on top of the kidneys. So about right back here. And it's your body's stress response. It's how your body produces, stress hormones like cortisol in response to stressors in our environment, whether that's emotional stressors, whether that's physical stressors. Um, so, our adrenal glands produce cortisol. And I feel like when everybody hears the word cortisol, we're like, oh, bad. We don't want lots of cortisol, which is true. We don't want too much cortisol. But it's almost like a balance here. We don't want too much. We don't want too little. And the reason that we know about cortisol is because our crazy modern lives, we've had this stress response kind of jammed in the on position for so long, especially over the last couple of years. So, you know, it's all about balance in that system, if that makes sense.
Yes, totally. So really important organ on top of kidney. Kidney is actually my favorite organ out of the entire body. So
Love it.
people always wonder about, adrenal gland, and we talk about burnout. So what causes adrenal gland or adrenal burnout?
Yeah, and that's a little bit of a misnomer because there's no actual like poop out of your gland, right? Like your
Hmm.
gland stays healthy for the most part unless you have some, diagnosed, disorder there. But um the burnout is real, right? The symptoms are real, where we feel stressed, anxious, where we feel burned out, exhausted, fatigued, brain foggy. Like that stuff is really real. And there's so much that we can do to optimize that response. But what leads to the burnout is basically your body is amazing. It wants to protect you, it wants to keep you safe, it has your back. So when we are just like pedal to the metal, like stressed to the max, physically and emotionally, our body's trying to protect us. Our brain will literally dial down the response to the adrenal glands to kind of slow our roll and decrease that wear and tear of that constant high cortisol. But we often have this effect where we like overcompensate, and instead of feeling stressed and anxious and overwhelmed all the time, we feel exhausted, burnt out, low cortisol picture. So I guess that's a long way of saying is the stress is what gets us there, the chronic stress, whether that's physical or emotional.
The good news is that once you know about that, you can actually take active action, like actions to address that.
Yes, there's so much we can do to optimize and get you feeling better.
Yeah, so to get people started, I know you do a lot of functional testing with your clients. You discussed like three type of lab tests you do in your Instagram for adrenal health. So what are they? Tell us a little more about those.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's a little bit different in what I'd recommend, but like the main ones that I usually run for people who come to me who are burned out, I want to know kind of what your adrenal response looks like. Give us a general idea of where you're at in this like spectrum of burnout, right? Like, have
Yeah.
we been digging this hole of stress for a long time? Are we like incredibly burned out? How are we metabolizing our cortisol? How are we deactivating it? What does our curve look like throughout the day of our cortisol? What times of day do we need some extra support? Or, what does that tell us about our daily habits, and how we can support you like in a personalized way, if that makes sense. So that's the Dutch hormone test that I run often. Another one that I run often is called the GI map, which is a stool test. Everybody's shocked to hear that sometimes. It's like, oh, really? I mean, it kind of gives us an idea of like looking under the hood and seeing what's going on with your microbiome, what's going on with your gut health. I mean, most of your immune system lives in your gut. So it gives us an idea of like, is there any source of inflammation that's causing issues and contributing to the burnout? So those are the main ones that I run most often. And then there's hair mineral testing that can kind of give us an idea of like your body's personal response to stress in terms of how you're depleting your minerals, which is a really great way to like turn around symptoms pretty quickly. So I run that one as well.
Wonderful. I know Dutch test is like super complicated for anyone who's just doing it alone. It's really hard to interpret. So it's really awesome that because I know you also besides ordering the test, you also help people trying to understand what the test results actually means to them.
Yeah, taking these this complex physiology and boiling it down to like, daily habits, things that we can do to get you feeling better.
So why are you such a believer in lab testing?
I think it's very powerful to see where you're at on paper. We tend to, as a society, kind of not prioritize ourselves. Sometimes it's hard to prioritize ourselves. It's also easy to brush off stress. It's something that's so everybody has stress, It's okay. We should just deal with it, And I think that it's really profound to see on paper, like, and validating for your symptoms you're experiencing after probably going to the doctor and being told, like, you're fine, you're just getting old. And you're like, I'm in my 30s or 20s, like, this doesn't make any sense. So it's very validating. It helps us with a personalized approach to get you feeling better faster. And it just kind of guides our intervention and helps you stay motivated because you know why you're doing something, you know?
Yeah. Same as us. We also find it pretty powerful, especially people who are already practicing, healthy lifestyle. And the test results also provides like a sense of assurance to them. So empowering them to even like trying to improve themselves even more. So yeah, I love this like objective aspect of lab testing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I find it to be a very powerful part of the healing process if it's appropriate.
So do you also based on these tests to make food recommendations to your clients?
Yeah. I'm a food first approach always. Uh, Supplements definitely have their spot, and their place, but it helps us kind of prioritize what foods we should incorporate more often, like if we're really depleted in certain micronutrients or minerals. The Dutch test is really nice because it also can give us kind of a little bit of an idea of some of your B vitamin status as well. And if we have a really depleted picture, we know like, okay, we probably really need to focus on more of those adrenal supporting nutrients. So it does give us really good direction there.
Got it. So everybody's different. So what are some like foods that you would consider for general as a general recommendation for adrenal supportive diet?
Yeah. So yeah, again, everybody's different, but general things here. Let's talk macronutrients, right? Like our protein, our fat, our carbs, and fiber, right? Like these are really, really important things to find the right balance for you and what's working for you in this season of life to balance your blood sugar, because that's a really important foundational step for healthy adrenals and healthy stress responses, balanced blood sugar. And we're not just talking about diabetes here, we're talking about everybody, right? This is really important. So, and I find that the one that people struggle with the most is getting enough protein. So focusing on that maybe first, not skipping meals, that sort of thing. And then in terms of micronutrients, like our vitamins and our minerals, I mean, vitamin C is huge. Sodium, potassium, magnesium, selenium, B vitamins. We, rip through a lot of these nutrients, like when we're under a lot of stress, and we tend to get pretty deficient. So in order to like kind of re-optimize that adrenal and stress response, we have to replete those nutrients in a really like intentional way.
So like carb usually get, a bad rap. And then you also mentioned like balancing blood sugar. So could you like explain the difference between good and bad carbs for, general adrenal health?
Yeah. I mean, first of all, I'm a big fan of saying like always and sometimes carb because the bad carbs are going to be in our life and forever. Like they're a part of our joy in life, and that's really good for your adrenals is joy. So it's about balance there, right? But in terms of like our always carbs that we want to incorporate all the time, and find balance with that's right for you. I mean, we're talking starchy vegetables like potatoes, sweet potatoes, beans and legumes, lentils, whole grains if you can tolerate, incorporating these like fibrous whole food carbs is really where it's at, and balancing your blood sugar, boosting your energy, and giving your adrenals some extra love and support.
Yeah, you mentioned that people have trouble like with protein. So what are some good protein source for adrenal health?
Um, I am a big fan of variety here as well. If we're gonna invest in some like higher quality products, I say it's good to invest in higher quality protein sources like grass-fed beef, pasture-raised chicken, turkey, eggs, if you hemp seeds, beans, like these are, hemp seeds are great source of protein, by the way. So easy to just like sprinkle on things. Lentils, did I already say that? if you need a little extra help too, it's always okay to, have a little bit of like a high quality protein powder in your life. I know that really helps me round out my protein intake. So grass-fed whey protein, if you tolerate dairy, collagen peptides are really easy because they just dissolve in things. Pea protein, whatever you prefer.
I know there's also like there's relationship between salt and kidney. But is there any connection between salt and adrenal gland? Oh, okay.
Can you repeat that? I'm so
Yes,
sorry.
yes. Sorry, I must be cut out a little bit. So I know there's like a connection between salt and kidney health. Is there a connection between salt and adrenal glands?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that we're pretty salt phobic in in our society. But turns out like hypertension and heart disease is a lot more complex than that. And maybe what we've really accomplished by decreasing salt is not decreasing those, chronic diseases. I think what we've really like accomplished is contributing to the burnout. We need not just adequate salt, but adequate minerals in general for a healthy cortisol response and balanced cortisol response. Magnesium, potassium, sodium are three big ones that a lot of people need to focus more on, I find. Minerals are like spark plugs in the body. They're cofactors and reactions that, take our food and allow us to make energy from that food. They're involved in digestion, healthy hormones, inflammation, and depletion is at an all-time high because we're under so much stress. So people find a lot of benefit by focusing on these minerals in general.
Yeah. So what are now we talked about things that people should do. So is there any food or drinks that people should avoid if they suspect they have any adrenal problems?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm a big fan of like, instead of talking about what we should take out first, talk about what we're missing first, because that's usually more of the problem is what we're missing. And when we add more of these healthier foods and foods that our body is craving, we tend to eat less of the, sometimes foods or the less healthy foods for us. But I would say some of the ones that I'm really mindful of with clients who are dealing with burnout or anxiety or these classic adrenal symptoms are refined sugars and refined carbs, refined flours, something to enjoy in moderation, without guilt. But if we're having it all the time, we're not really listening to what our body is wanting or needing. And then inflammatory oils. This is a big one. Inflammation is a big trigger it's a big stressor on our body that contributes to burnout and adrenal issues. So inflammatory oils are pretty ubiquitous. Like they're even in those fancy, expensive snacks you got at Whole Foods, like canola, safflower, sunflower, vegetable oils, soy, corn. Like these are really commonly used in restaurants and processed food, but also make sure you're not cooking with those, right? Like those, I would say, try to avoid them, but they're everywhere, so don't freak out if you're exposed to them,
Yep. That's also usually the recommendation because after people who use our test, we often ask them to swap out bad product with the better products. But we also tell people, don't freak out, because it's one step at a time. Otherwise, you're just adding additional stress, which then is not good for you.
Not good for your adrenals. Yeah.
It's not good for your adrenals.
Yeah, health anxiety is huge, actually. It's a huge barrier to healing. So it is very, very important to check that and find that mindfulness instead of fear when it comes to your diet and your health choices, for sure.
Yeah, somebody just asked if tap water is okay.
Tap water. Ooh, filtered water is best. This is really, showing our privilege, right? Like, there's a lot of people that have really poor water quality, and there's a lot of stuff in our tap water that can be affecting our adrenal and thyroid health, affecting our affecting our energy overall and our chemical load. It is a big deal. And a lot of times I don't want to freak people out. This is a hard concept to talk about because it's, if you're drinking lots of water, I'm so proud of you.
Yep.
But if we could get like a good filter in, if that's something you could prioritize in your budget, and the filter that's best for you is different for everybody depending on where you're at, what's in your water. So that's important research to do. Does that make sense? Is that a good way of it?
Yeah. It's a good one. I was also just going to comment on it. Yeah, it's really good if you have the resource to have filtered water. And the reverse osmosis filter is always is a good one to go with because it's kind of like a catch-all filter. We actually spend the time curate a list of our approved osmosis and reverse osmosis filter on our website. So if anybody is interested, check out under our approved product section under resources. Because again, just exactly as what Chelsea said, depending on where you live, your water source could contain different contaminants. You can check your local water report to see what's in your water. But oftentimes also depending on the building, you might have like old pipe that could also, alter your water quality. So if you really want to be really objective about this, you can actually get your water tested. There is a company called Simple Labs. They do water testing, so you can check that out. But again, that's also an investment. So the best way to go about it is, okay, get your water tested to figure out what kind of filter you need, then get that filter. But sometimes getting water tested is just as expensive as getting an osmosis, water filter. Then we just tell people, just in case, if you have the budget, definitely get a reverse osmosis water filter, then just catch it off.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
It can be well worth the investment. Truly.
Yes, totally.
It is fun, but it can be well worth it. It's something that we're exposing ourselves to all day long, every day, right? If we're drinking water like we're supposed to be. So if we think of it like that, that's where our money really should go if we're prioritizing, right?
Exactly. Think this as investing in your health, and it's a preventative measure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I know you also have a supplement shop, and we talked a little bit, yes, food first, but sometimes supplement can also help. What are your most popular supplement? What do you you mostly recommend to your clients?
Yeah, well, that totally depends for sure. But I find myself recommending grass-fed beef liver for so many clients. Now, that sounds so random probably to a lot of the listeners, but it's like nature's multivitamin. And if you are a dietitian, or if you ever went to get your degree in nutrition and you took a nutrition class, it's the top of the list for the most nutrient dense food for every nutrient basically. And I remember reading that in school and thinking, no one eats that.
Yeah.
No one eats that. Why are you even listening it? But I mean, having that in the capsule form is a way that you can consume it without actually having to eat it, which is, but usually people appreciate. So I recommend that a lot. If we're on the mineral subject here, I recommend magnesium glycinate a lot. A lot of us are depleted in that if we're under any sort of stress. Unfortunately, our food supply isn't that great of a source of these minerals anymore, just because of our soil health, unfortunately. So since this one is so important for women's health, hormones, adrenal response, and we're so depleted, I find that, a lot of my clients do really well with magnesium glycinate. And an adrenal cocktail. Woo, it's a lifesaver. Adrenal cocktail. Lots of potassium, sodium, vitamin C to give you that kick in the morning. I have it right here.
Oh, yay.
So those are my top 3 probably for a lot of people who might be feeling the burnout. Of course, talk to your practitioner about what's right for you, right? Because there's certain conditions where we don't really want to mainline magnesium, right? Like kidney disease, for example. So it's all about finding that balance for you, and talking to a practitioner.
Love it. You're an awesome practitioner. So tell everybody what's a session with you look like.
Well, that's so nice. Thank you so much. I sell packages because people just don't get better if we do individual sessions.
Mm-hmm.
So I do 3-month packages or longer, because healing is definitely a process. It's all about, I do a lot of coaching on the what to do, how to do it, and why we're doing it, which people find is really helpful. We never go from 0 to 100. It's all about step-by-step approach and how to approach it from like a really balanced perspective. What is worth your time and energy, which people really appreciate. That's like a really big bonus to working with dietitian. It's like, this is really worth it. This, maybe not so much, which in the world of trying to figure out what to eat and how to take care of yourself on the internet, that's very much appreciated. And yeah, just that personalized approach with your lab work that you've previously done with your doctor, looking at that from like an optimal nutrition perspective, and whatever labs we're running. It's a very personalized process based on what's happening with your body in this season of life, what's happening in your life, and how we can like kind of bridge that gap to make your habits sustainable. Does that make sense?
Yeah, love it. No, I definitely think this needs to be a package deal, because you can't just have like a one session, change everything. You need to follow up, and then you also need to make sure that you have this maintenance period after you change it. Like, can you sustain it? And, if you sustain it, what's the changes after? No, I think it's extremely important.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, even 3 months is a blip in your healing process. We spend years healing our mind and body, and it's kind of discouraging in a way, but it also helps us set up our mindset appropriately when we start on a journey, like not getting discouraged if there's ups and downs in the journey, because that's just the nature of a healing process. So but working with a dietitian can definitely try to decrease that healing time so that we can really target what's going to help you the best, if that makes sense.
Yes, love it. We have one viewer commented, calf liver with onion and potatoes and bean on the side. That's actually pretty delicious. If you don't want to take supplement, get, grass-fed calf liver. That would be really awesome.
Good for you. I'm proud of you for eating that. I've heard of people making like pate,
yes,
meatballs, or
yes,
like disguising it in kind of like ground meat situation, but I haven't been brave enough to do that personally. So I'm very proud of my plan. Huh?
My grandma used to make me kind of like stewed liver jerky. Nice. It's actually not bad. So she put a lot of spice, star anise and cardamom and all these really nice spice in it, and stew it and then dry it. So you end up almost like eating a little chip jerky. It's actually not bad at all.
Love it. I love hearing about this stuff. That's so cool. Sharing.
Yeah, and somebody else asked, are nootropics generally safe?
Say that one more time.
Are nootropics generally safe?
Nootropics. I'm not sure I know what that is.
I'm actually don't know. I don't know this one either.
Like the supplement, or we can Google it right now if you want.
I'm Googling it too.
Nootropics.
So it's a smart drugs. Class of substance that can boost brain performance.
Oh, okay.
I have not done much digging on this. I guess I'm assuming they're kind of like a blend of different herbs and supplement. But I guess that depends on the blend and what's included.
It looks like maybe they're nootropics. Is that
nootropic? Yeah, I probably said it wrong.
Nootropic class of drugs. They're like stimulant drugs like Ritalin and Adderall, I think. Is that right?
Yes. Adderall. I saw it now.
Okay. So I was like, I don't know that brand of supplement. Sorry. So, I mean, that's definitely something to talk to your practitioner about. I am not anti-medication. I think that there's a time and a place for it. I think that we maybe overuse medication in our country in general, but I mean, there's a time and a place for it. So talk to your practitioner. I can't give, individual advice on that. There's always pros and cons, right? And you have to kind of assess your situation and what those pros and cons are for you. I'm sorry, it's maybe not as detailed as you would like, but
I also think one thing bear in mind with these, I guess, newer drug is to understand making sure you don't completely become dependent on it. I think that's also kind of an important aspect. And it's good to, if this is something that to kind of get you in the door to start a healthy lifestyle. But if you don't have to rely on it, once you start this process, I would still rely on good food and good healthy lifestyle practices.
Yeah, and I mean, that's a testament to how powerful diet and lifestyle changes for mental health. It's a huge, huge thing. But like you said, if that like gets the ball rolling, start taking better care of yourself, there is zero shame in that. And that's amazing that benefited you. So, and it looks like there might be some natural compounds in that class as well. But interesting. We'll have to do more research on that.
Yes, this is a new topic for me. I didn't even know how to pronounce this. So now I need to do some digging on the component of this new class of drugs.
Yeah, absolutely.
So thank you so much for joining us today. So like everybody be sure to follow Chelsea at good.mood.nutrition on her Instagram. And then you can also download her free anxiety meal plan by clicking our LinkedIn bio. So this is like really, really cool. And you can book a discovery call with Chelsea.
Yeah, I would love to chat with you further about your goals and your symptoms and your next steps in your healing process.
Thank you so much. This is a lot of fun. We're gonna have you come back and talk more about this.
I would love to. Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you.
So nice to meet you in person.
Yeah. Okay, bye.
Bye, everybody.